So I stood there in this alleyway between two crappy little houses and I'm feeling like a drug dealer because I got this like $650 in cash and I'm like shaking in my fingertips. I was living for free. See, my monthly loan payment on the house, I lived in one of them, was $620. And when the tenant paid me the $650, it hit me. I don't have to worry about paying a mortgage anymore. I can now take more risks as an entrepreneur. And that simple beginning led me to where I am today, nearly 10,000 rental units across more than a dozen states and an 8-figure net worth. But guess what? I'm actually still living in a duplex where I rent the other unit out, just like before. Different duplex though. This one's a $3 million house overlooking the ocean in Hawaii. That's right, I started by house hacking and I'm still house hacking today. House hacking, it's kind of a funny term, right? I actually coined that term almost a decade ago when I wrote an article for BiggerPockets, and it was called How to Hack Your Housing and Get Paid to Live for Free. And I talked about this concept that I had done numerous times. But what exactly does house hacking mean? In its simplest form, house hacking is the practice of living in one of the multiple units of your investment property and then renting out the others. It could be a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, or heck, even a single family home with separate kind of living spaces you make. By doing this, the rent you collect from your tenants can offset, in some cases, completely cover your mortgage, taxes, and other expenses. You know, as I stated earlier, by doing this, you're so much closer to real financial freedom because you eliminated the biggest expense for most people, their house payment or their rent. Now you might be thinking, I don't want to live next door to my tenant, or I can't buy a house, I can never get qualified for that, or that sounds way too good to be true, Brandon, or whatever's going through your head right now. Do me a favor, hear me out, watch this video and then judge, because I believe you can house hack and should without it inconveniencing your life. Even if you have no money, you can house hack in any state, any city, anywhere around the globe. So what I want to do is this in this video. I want to give you everything you're going to need in order to house hack. I want this to be the best video ever made on house hacking. So consider this the ultimate kind of house hacking guide. And if you agree this was valuable, please don't forget to show a little love to the little thumbs up button below the video. That helps me a lot. So let me give you a quick layout of what I'm going to be talking about here today on this video. First of all, I want to lay out some of the alluring benefits to house hacking. Then I'm going to cover a little bit about the loan side of things, how to pick the right location, how to find those potential properties to house hack, even ones that no one knows about. They're called off market. I'm going to talk about some sneaky tricks for doing that. I'll give you 3 of those kind of tips. I'll also talk about how to turn any property potentially into a house hack. I'll talk about how to analyze them to make sure the kind of money you think it's going to make is actually the money that it's actually going to make. And we'll talk a little bit about the Foursquare method there. And then even talk about some no money down strategies. I'm going to cover how to manage those properties, how to make sure that it's easy, fun, and profitable. Does that sound like a good time? All right, well, you're a nerd like me, so let's go. We're gonna start with some of the key benefits, some of the alluring benefits to house hacking. First of all, they're the obvious benefit I mentioned already. You get help covering your living costs. I mean, let's just say for a moment that you buy a $300,000 triplex. That's a 3-unit property. Now, don't worry right now about how you're going to do that, how you're going to get the loan. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's just say that $300,000 triplex is going to cost you, with taxes, insurance, the loan payment, minor repairs and whatever, right around $2,400 a month. That's about what it would be at. Now, let's just say you live in the main unit and there's 2 apartments attached, one upstairs and one in the basement. Now, each of those, let's say, rents for $1,200 a month each. So now you're living for free. And yes, the math really can work out that way, and even better if you know what you're doing. And you will after watching this video, which reminds me, are you taking notes? If this is important to you, take some freaking notes and start thinking through this question. What action steps will you take when the video is over? And then be sure to leave a comment with your thoughts on that below. But anyway, so I love that you can live for cheap, or in this example, for free. That frees you up to put your disposable income, the money you now have extra, into more investments or entrepreneurial ventures. Now, does a house hack have to mean you live for free? Not at all. I mean, my loan right now in my house here in Hawaii is like $7,000 a month. And I rent out the other unit for about $3,000. So I'm not living for free, but I'm living in a stupid nice house overlooking the ocean for like $4,000, which is better than most people in the Midwest are paying. So it definitely makes it better. All right, the second thing I love about house hacking, the ability to do it for low or no money down. Like, there are literally government-sponsored loan programs that can help you get a house hack done for almost nothing or completely nothing down. I'm going to share 4 different loan programs you can use in just a second. Plus, I'm going to give you kind of a cool house hack that'll really make $0 down possible. I'll tell you that in a minute. Now, third thing that I love about house hacking, it's like training wheels. Like I got kids that are trying to learn how to ride a bike, and they have little training wheels. It's like training wheels for real estate investors. You get firsthand knowledge of this thing, how it works, tenants, rents, management, financing, all that without a whole lot of risk. I mean, you live there. You can take care of the little problems when they crop up, but you're getting smarter. You're getting stronger and you're getting better. And by the way, you don't have to live in that house hack forever. Like when you get the loan, you simply need to agree to live there for a year. All right, and hey, a little bonus fourth thing that I really love about real estate, and this is all real estate. When you buy property, especially when you have a loan, you build wealth automatically for decades. Like one deal can retire you someday. Like what was a house worth like 30 years ago? And what do you think is gonna be worth 30 years from now? And if you put it on a 30-year fixed mortgage, which is most common, in 30 years you'll have paid that property down completely. You'll have a property worth way more than what it's worth today, and you'll owe nothing on it because your tenants paid it off. It's almost a guaranteed way to become a millionaire. All right, so hopefully you're sold on this idea of house hacking. It's not always easy, but it is so worth it. What's the next step then? Well, I'd actually suggest first talking to some local lenders about your ability to get financing, because that's going to dictate a lot of kind of the future steps. So let's talk about financing now. If you've got decent credit and you've got a decent job, plus a few bucks, you can likely get a loan on a 1 to 4 family property. Banks actually look at single family houses, duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes as all the same thing. It's residential. So let's talk about some of the financing options for residential loans. And I'll lay out 4 different loan programs here that nearly every bank can do. Most of them can, including my own lending company, Better Life Real Estate Funding. So check that out, betterliferef.com. Plus, I'll give you some more creative ideas in case those don't work. All right, first and perhaps the most well-known loan program is the FHA program. It's sponsored by the US government and it requires just 3.5% down payment. So a $300,000 property, you're looking at just over $10,000 for a down payment. And then there's a related loan product called the 203K loan, which is for buying fixer-uppers, which really can supercharge your wealth building. That's also 3.5% down of the total repairs and the purchase price. Now, third loan program is for properties outside of major cities, and that's the USDA loan, which can provide lending up to 100%. That means $0 down if you're somewhat in a rural area. And then there's the VA loan, which is for members of the US military and their families. It's also 0% down, but what if none of those work for you? Maybe your credit's terrible, or maybe you can't qualify for some other reason. Here are 3 ideas for getting your house hack funded with $0. First, bring in a partner that can partner with you. They can bring the 3.5% down payment, and they don't have to actually live in the property. You can split profits however you negotiate. Now, a second idea, consider seller financing. This is where the current owner of the rental property, likely a landlord since it's multifamily, they actually sell the property to you. But instead of you getting another loan, they act as a bank. You pay them every month, just like you'd pay a bank. This can actually be a really neat win-win, as the seller doesn't need to pay all the taxes that they owe when they sell. They don't have to find a new place to invest all that money, and they get to help out a younger, newer investor while making a good return on a property that they understand. I actually sold a 5-unit property to a newer investor I met a few years ago. I ended up doing a seller financing deal on it because I wanted the monthly income, but really, I just wanted to help this guy out, him and his wife out. And so that's a cool strategy. And third, creative idea, maybe don't buy it all. I mean, my very first sort of house hack, even before the one I told you earlier, I actually just rented a 4-bedroom apartment when I was in college, and then I rented out the other rooms. And yeah, I wasn't building equity, but I was living for free. So could you rent a big whole house or rent a whole duplex or a whole fourplex from a landlord? And then could you turn around and rent out the other spaces? Why not? Now, let's talk about finding those house hack deals. You're gonna wanna get a real good real estate agent to help you. Now, we'll talk about some of the off-market strategies in just a moment, but let's first talk about the easier path first. So you get an agent who is paid by the seller, by the way, so doesn't come out of your pocket, and then you tell them what you want, where you kind of want it, and what kind of condition you want it in. And don't be afraid, by the way, of a little bit of ugly, a little bit of elbow grease, a little bit of paint, and then they're gonna go find the properties for you. Just be sure to pick an agent that is experienced, knowledgeable, and responsive. And also, finding one who understands real estate investors is super helpful. Now, if you want a more advanced strategy for finding deals, you're gonna wanna go off market. It means actively reaching out to owners of properties to see if they want to sell. You can do this by think of the acquisition process as a funnel. Like there's lots of potential leads or properties going on the top, and as they get filtered out until only a few come out of the bottom. Now, where do you find these leads to put in the top? Well, A, you can pull public records. I mean, for every small multifamily property in your county, you can send every one of them a letter, or you can call them all. B, you can drive around every day or hire some high school kid to do that and build your list of potential multifamily deals, just everything you can find. Or C, You could attend local real estate meetups and make friends with existing landlords and maybe make a deal happen that way. And that's just a few ideas. In fact, in one of my books I wrote called How to Invest in Real Estate, it's kind of like a general real estate investing book, I wrote alongside Josh Dorkin. There's a chapter in there literally called 27 ways to find incredible real estate deals. There's a lot of options out there. You just got to get good at one or two of them. Okay, before we move on, don't forget about looking at single family houses also. Many times they have attics or basements or extra space that can be remodeled into another unit. So can you put in an exterior door and make a studio apartment out of that one? Big bedroom in the back? Can you take that space above the garage and make it a living space? Or could you just rent out the bedrooms? If you don't mind that, rent out the bedrooms and live for free. You can turn almost any property into a house hack of some kind when you keep an open mind and just be sure you follow the right legal process if you got to do that remodeling, get the permits and all that stuff. Okay, so you know how to find deals now. You got the financing kind of figured out. What's next? How about running the numbers? All right, so I'm gonna make this real quick because this video is getting long enough already, but here's my suggestion. There are 4 primary things that you're probably gonna wanna think through when it comes to analyzing deals. I'm gonna give you an order. I call it the 4 square method. I go way more in depth on this, by the way, on an old YouTube video of mine I made years ago. It's got millions of views on it now. It's called Calculating Numbers on a Rental Property Using the 4 Square Method. You can just search YouTube for Brandon Turner 4 Square Method, you'll find it. But here's the gist. In box 1, you have income. You need to know the total rent you can get for the property once you start digging into the numbers. You'll figure it out. Look at similar properties and talk with the real estate investors, talk with agents. You'll get a handle pretty quickly on what a property, a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom will rent for. There's also sites like Rentometer or Zillow that can kind of help you steer you in the right direction. The second box we have is expenses. That's the hardest one to nail down because you just don't know what you don't know. But look for these in particular. Write this down. Taxes, insurance, repairs, the mortgage, setting aside money for capital expenditures, which means, the periodic replacement of carpet and appliances and the roof. And then vacancy rate. Set aside some money for when the unit sits empty. Now you can run those through an analysis spreadsheet or software to find box 3, which is cash flow, and box 4, which is your cash on cash return. And that's the yield your investment is actually making. And hey, if you just want to download my analysis software for free, just go to abetterlife.com/analysis. Now that's how you analyze a rental, but how specifically about a house hack? Well, I recommend analyzing it a couple ways. One, as if you're living there and you're paying rent, like $0 in rent. So whatever negative cash flow when you do that, that's how much money you'd likely actually be paying to live there if you were house hacking. And then analyze it again like you are actually paying the full amount of rent. Try it that way. And you'll see kind of what the actual cash on cash return would be, especially once you move out of it. I like to see at that point, once I'm out of it, I like to see at least a few $100s a month in cash flow, and ideally 8% on my money, maybe more. I might accept a little bit lower if I believe that area is really gonna pop, but you have to decide for yourself, what do you really wanna make on your money? Now finally, you're going to make some offers. And that's scary, and eventually you're gonna get a deal under contract. Even scarier, you're likely gonna deal with a real estate agent for this whole part, which is great. They're gonna help you get an inspector, and if you do it off market, you're gonna get your own inspector. So somebody will look at the property, make sure there's no crazy surprises that pop up. You're gonna get a title company or an attorney to actually handle all the paperwork and all the legal stuff and the title, and the bank financing gets coordinated all through them. And then boom, one day, you're just a landlord. And you're standing there in an alley taking $650 in cash. I'm just kidding, don't take cash. But you do have to manage the thing. So here's the thing about managing tenants. If you just read like a book, one book on managing tenants, you'll be fine. Might I suggest the book on managing rental properties that I wrote with my awesome wife, Heather Turner. It's super highly rated on Amazon, people love it. But really, most managing books are gonna be just fine. You treat your business like a business, do the work needed to find and screen for great tenants, sign a good lease with the tenant, be firm but fair when dealing with them, open a separate checking account and track all your income expenses. And guess what? You actually don't have to do any of that, really, if you just hire a property manager. Now, that will cut into your cash flow, so it's something you gotta weigh and decide on, but that might not be the worst thing, because now you can spend your time finding your next deal. All right, so how did I do? Was this the best house hacking video you've ever seen? If so, or close, smash that like button, leave me a comment with your action step, and subscribe for more real estate content just like this. I'm Beardy Brandon on social, signing off.